So thank you guys so much for coming out today. We have the team from Gigabots joining us. So again, if you guys missed the AMA, these are uploaded to the YouTube channel afterwards, so you guys can go back and reference them. Our video editor, Sirens, does an amazing job going through and detailing the chapter breakdowns. So if you're looking for a specific topic, a lot easier to find it. So again, just always keep that in mind. But Giga itself, the token, launched earlier today about an hour and 5 minutes ago at 6:05 p.m. UTC, launched around 30K as the dev has let us know. And they've ran up to, I think, all-time high just over 150 and kind of bouncing around that 100 to 150K range right now, which is great. Almost 200 holders as well, which is, nice to see. And the token kind of plays into the ecosystem in terms of utility from a access to premium and additional features. We'll get into more of that throughout the AMA, but their first utility is live, which again, that's something that we always look for here. And it's kind of a key piece to getting on here, anything pre-launch or close to launch. So it'd be nice to see that these guys have been in development for, I believe, about 6 months now with the ecosystem. And as you know, we'll be able to break down the demo and show you guys some of the features of their trading tool today. But yeah, I'm excited to learn a little bit more about this. Name is catchy. You guys do have that nice Giga ticker. Everybody around the space talks about things Giga sending. So there's that little bit of psychology with regards to the ticker. I like that. And, it is our first time working together, but it seems like you have an impressive background with your previous project. So I'll pass you the mic. And again, guys, just make sure you're pulling up the website and the white paper as we're active to follow along a little bit easier and jump into the community. But thanks so much for being here, guys, and I'll throw you the mic.
Okay, awesome. Did you want us to start with the backgrounds again or jump into the project?
Backgrounds, that would be perfect. And I find it's a great kind of throughway to what led you to create this here at Gigabots.
Okay, absolutely. So yeah, I guess we could take turns on that. My background is that I'm basically a computer science, computer engineering major, as well as major in finance. I spent about half my career on building like business intelligence and the other half on actually building trading financial systems and portfolio management. So that's kind of the trading background of Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera. And DeFi, I just love DeFi because, it was like when you're in finance, what you realize you spend 90% of your time on legal and 10% of your time on actually innovation. And DeFi was like an open design space and I loved it. That pulled me in. I met GigaDev, that first project, and we had 20 people in that project. I was a founder. GigaDev joined me, and he was my best dev by far. He's like a one-man machine dev. He's going to give you his own intro, but I'll set it up. And so we went on to then form basically a fund. We used some of the tech we had developed in the project, and we were managing funds for others. And the strategy we found with the highest risk-adjusted returns was actually degen. And people wanted exposure to it. They didn't want to sit on the computers all day and do it. So we did it for them, and we did it systematically. And out of that, we realized, hey, this is something that, the everyday user can use. Now, can we take this power and encapsulate it into something of a simple UX? And that's the origin of Gigabots. But anyway, that's on my side. And GigaDev, like I said, he's a one-man machine, one-man army of a dev team. And it's just the two of us. So go ahead, GigaDev. Give us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah. So I've been a programmer for the last 8 years of my life. Previously, I was an entrepreneur. I did go to university to study electrical engineering, but I did not finish that. I kind of dropped out because it got a little too boring. And explored some entrepreneurship, which then led me to developing my programming skills. I got into crypto in like 2016, mainly through mining, built a bunch of rigs, had a little farm of my own, set it up with a couple of friends. And halfway, like a few years into that, around 2018, started going deeper into like the algorithmic trading side of things, quantitative models, building trading systems. And then and through that, also started learning about once I had I had mining experience. I actually started getting into developing smart contracts and interacting with them programmatically. And I met Giga King. He had awesome. He was the founder of an incredible project. He gave me the opportunity to start working with him. We did some great stuff, but that did not fully take off as we wanted. But then we started, like he said, we started working together and building a fund for ourselves in the shitcoin space. And we decided we built some tools, and now we're here. And we're offering these tools to you guys, and hopefully, taking you guys to what we believe will be the journey, the next iteration of these bots.
Really appreciate that, guys. For me, understanding that you were successful in running a project for almost 3 years and kind of going from that, that bull to kind of the bear market, definitely you're going to learn some things about community management and, what people are looking for in the space and kind of the changing directive or narrative of, what people are looking for. So, from my end, it's always nice to know that the team is experienced and you guys have had a good depth on that side of things. And I guess how similar would the previous project and what you guys are doing up from a utility perspective be? Is there any kind of similarities or areas where you can really draw on that past experience?
Yeah, interestingly, our first project was in the yield space. And because we're both data kind of guys, we were building an ML-based yield optimization. So we were trying to find the best yield using machine learning. And the thing is, when we started, there was big gaps, right? You could make 20%, you could make 2%. So there was an opportunity, and it made sense. What happened is, as the yields market became efficient, then you're just picking up small differences. Number one. Number two, what happened is, the yields started coming down, and it became a less attractive field overall. So profitability sort of became a little bit bearish, the yield market itself. And then we had this SEC onslaught and stuff, right? So that, along with that, what happened is, my third mistake of a founder was to kind of build a team too big. We raised money in the bull market. We raised money at a high valuation, and that's you may think it may be good for your ego, but it's bad for your project. And your hands are tied. So now you raise money at high valuation. There's nothing you can do. You build a huge team. So taking all of those lessons, this time we built ultra lean. We bootstrapped ourselves. We brought no investors in. We have no baggage. We tried to get you guys in that 30K market cap. Our first project, we raised money at 25 million before we had a product, So just imagine, how do you make money for those investors? So lots of those lessons coming into here. Everything you see here is by design. We built the product ourselves. We used it ourselves. We showed that it can make money ourselves. We bootstrapped it ourselves. We said no to the VCs. We also, because we're in the degen space, we did a fair launch. We did a stealth launch. We didn't do a pre-seed. So it's all congruent. We launched on Uniswap. So there's a lot of design here that's behind the scenes. So you're right. That lesson, that 3 years in the trenches, taught us some things, and we're very, very careful of bringing anybody onto the team now. Only we do outsourcing stuff, but it's a very lean team, so we can go on forever. This project is not gonna go out of business because of lack of funds. And
because we also became sort of DeFi experts. We went through all the code. We know Uniswap V1, V2, and V3 the back of our hands. We know how everything executes. We know how a liquidity curve is supposed to behave during certain things, and that's helped us develop the kind of signals you guys are going to see that our bots do. We also built some predictive models. So one of the things we realized was that the yield farming, the yield that comes from token farming, was not going to be something that you could that would be there forever. So we started looking into how do we generate our own yield, and the way that we were planning to do that at that stage was actually modeling transactions through different Uniswap pools And we had to build a bunch of algorithms to optimize and the stuff. And a lot of that carried over to this current project.
And again, it's definitely, you can't control how everything plays out in life, but, there's definitely lessons to be learned and information to be gathered. And, for me, it's important, like how you evaluate that and look to apply it in future ventures, right? And I like the identification in terms of like starting lower with the working product versus, coming in at higher. And I get it, coming from the TradFi or corporate space, I'm from the same world myself. So, those larger amounts, like you would think raising that amount of money is going to pull in larger investors and maybe, have bigger people supporting you. But what you just said is the bigger the people, well, the old saying, the rich don't get rich by giving their money away. Well, it's kind of like that, right? If you're coming in at 25, 30 million, like there has to be that feasible return. And it is tougher at that high of a cap while you're still in development to kind of deliver. So good identification and, nice to see that the product is working. And then you guys are going to be building up versus kind of building sideways, right? So good starting point versus, maybe the prior one, although, respect you for running it for 3 years. That's not an easy thing to do, regardless of, market conditions, starting cap or whatever. Big respect for that. But yeah, no, so let's transition into a little bit more on what led you to create Gigabots, right? And this is kind of more so, I'll phrase it in the problem identification stage or like the issue you're looking to solve for the space or for users.
Yeah, so I'll take a crack at it. I think initially we were looking for a way. So after the DeFi, we were looking for a way to basically, make a living and earn money. And we looked at trading, obviously came naturally to us. And we looked at the different spaces, right? We looked at what sector within trading has the best returns for us. And, surprisingly, our study showed us that like the degen sector it's an asymmetry, right? You can put in 1x down, but you can go 100x up. So you just if you can manage the risk and take enough shots at it, you can make decent returns. And nobody was doing it. We have like really smart guys doing MEV, scalping. You got other guys doing high speed, high frequency trading. But in the degen space, like the sophistication was not there. So we thought we could basically use our talents and make money, and we did. But then we realized that, hey, this is not just us. The guys who are actually doing this can use it. So that was like the initial insight that led to the formation of Gigabots. But I think what we uncovered in the journey is that there's a huge, and I have this, we have this presentation to show you, like, bots is just step one of 10 steps where we see this thing going. And that's like many projects, they launch a token and then they build step one. We did step one. So our bots are built, and I would venture to say they are the best. And we'll show it to you today. They can do stuff that none of the other bots can do. But that's just step one. That's just the first step in the master plan we'd like to unveil to you today.
And I kind of wanted to now transition a little bit, walk us through the launch, the tokenomics, maybe just break down the token for us first. And then that way, as we really jump in deeper to the ecosystem and your tools, people will kind of understand how the token plays into that and what they may receive through holding Giga.
Sure thing. Giga Dev, you want to take this one on?
Yeah, let's go. The token, you guys are seeing the charts. We decided to give most of the supply, make it available on our initial liquidity pool with 70% of it. We have 10% for the team, which is currently vested and locked for 10 months and then linearly unlocks over 10 months. And we do have a treasury, the stack that also unlocks linearly over 10 months. The liquidity is currently locked, and we're going to permanently lock it, but just as a safety measure in case there were any issues with the launch. Right now, it's currently locked for 6 months, which we plan to extend. It has tax of 5 and 5, 3 of that going into operations, which is going to be one of our revenue sources for deploying, for building everything that we plan to build. 1% for marketing, and the other 1% goes directly into additional liquidity. All of this is programmatically done inside the token contract. So every time somebody swaps, so there's a minimum amount, it'll take care of distributing the fees. Regarding the utility, one of the things is that we're going to actually have exclusive access to some of the new features that we'll be developing, and you'll also have like beta access after developing, so there's like an early thing for our token holders. And on top of that, our token is going to kick back revenue share to all of our holders. Now, this was kind of like the end of our presentation as we had it planned. That's totally cool. But in a bit, we're going to show you guys what our different revenue streams are going to be, and how that's going to, and you guys will notice that there's a big opportunity in the products that we're building.
And I apologize, guys, if I kind of jumped a little bit forward in the AMA with regards to the presentation flow. I just find it's definitely important for people to be able to connect the dots in their head as they're listening to the utility or the ecosystem breakdown, and just knowing ahead of time what that entails with regards to holding the token. So I apologize for kind of skipping a bit forward. And I do want to go back to now what is, all about the project, which is your tools, your utility. And, I love the fact that you guys have it's over 2 months now of live run data, which people can go back and reference, some of the signals that have been put out.
Yeah, no worries. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
Yeah. So here's kind of the big surprise for you, Maurice. I know you were planning to do a AMA on another trading bot, but this is not just another trading bot. And we're going to kind of outline what we think, why the trading bot is step one of a multi-step plan. So let's,
before you jump into that, I'll preface it with, I like your strategy. It's not all about, hitting 100Xs. It's about consistent profits. Like consistency is kind of key, or king. That's what I would say your model could be here when it comes to like how you guys approach trading and profit taking. So I'll just preface what you guys are going to jump into with that, because I do like the focus on more consistency and just ensuring you don't lose more so than you're hitting massive gains every single time. Because that's what I always say. If you don't lose, you're going to be in a great position in this space. So take the floor.
Yeah, just to your point, right? This is what a consistent strategy looks like, right? You're going to have drawdowns. So if you're coming here and thinking, I'll make no losses, this is not the way. That's why people, burn out. This is a strategy it looks like. And you'll see there's these periods where you're not picking any winners, but then boom, this winner more than makes up for your entire, 2 months. And that's what you're looking for, because it's asymmetric, right? When you go down, if you're investing 0.1 ETH, you can go down 0.1 ETH, but you can go up 100X. You can go up to 10 ETH. You can go up to 10 ETH. And that's the asymmetry. So you got to stay in the name. You got to stay in the game long enough. And people know that, but they don't know it systematically. Specifically, in this case, you actually had to make 342 trades in a space of 2 months. And you should have been prepared to go down 3.298 ETH, but you'd make a 55X. But this is like over 6 months, and you can run these different strategies and know that. And I think this is something that's lacking, like a systematic approach to degening. And so just I was going to show this later, but you brought it up, so let's share it now. But that's one of what our tool lets you do that like none of the other bots actually let you do. But anyways, we're going kind of reverse, but that's okay. I'll just get my bearings. So what we're trying to say is that, the bot, so the on-chain, right? The first principles, I think we don't need to preach to the choir. Everybody knows why on-chain is great, transparency, innovation. But why is the time right now for a project like Gigabots is because we feel the Legos, the underlying primitives are ready and to be abstracted away into a simple, intelligent, and relevant UX, so that basically the user, they just have to focus on what they want to do, and the bots have to figure out how to do it. That's our long-term vision, and I think we're actually, right about this vision, because one of the big surprises was when we found like everybody was building decentralization protocols, lending protocols, DEXs, And out of the blue, you get, bots that are centralized, quote unquote, and they're just taking off, and it caught everybody by surprise. And they're doing $1.5 million in fees a month. And we feel that is because these bots had the insight to kind of go where you're at. Like, what does the user really want to do and where they are? They're in Telegram, they're trading, they want to get, the job done quickly, and that. So this we believe is kind of a proof that this is the point now where we're going to see these kind of like hybrid applications where you still get the transparency and innovation of the chain, but you have to make a trade-off. For UX, people want simplicity, intelligence, relevance, not just decentralization. So you have to make that trade-off. That's why, we sort of started with Gigabots. So Gigabots is this iceberg. If you look at the iceberg, there's the tip of the iceberg above water. That's what we have today. I mean, there's further features to be enhanced, but the basic product is there, operational. Anybody can go on our Telegram and use it. But that's just to kind of get the foot in the door, to get the user on board. And then we have a set of other things which we're really excited about telling you today. And I think this is this is probably the second time we're talking about it in public. So that's really, if you look at this project as a potential investment, I think you should see where our mind's at for phase 2. Because phase 1, there's lots of bots out there. We contend ours is the best, and it will make you money right now. But there's also big plans that I don't think are on anybody's radar, we feel. We talked at length about our background, so no need to go about that, and we turned our product. So we basically said, okay, the user is not just here because they want to make a trade. They actually want to make money. They want to profit. And what's needed for that? They need to be able to identify. They need to be able to get in, get out automatically. So we sort of built these logically. GigaTrader is our bot that's the equivalent of the other bot that can buy and sell efficiently through Telegram. And very soon it's also you can automate it to buy and sell based on your conditions. But then we have Giga Analyst and Giga Monitor. And the one thing that ties all three of them together, the concept is signals and strategies. And the problem right now in the degen world is people confuse signals and strategies, right? A signal is something that predicts price movement. A strategy is how you take a signal or more than one signal and make a profit from it. A signal on its own doesn't make you profit. And that's kind of what we do, I think, differently than every other bot out there, is we give you a menu of signals. We study these signals with data science. And for example, we have a signal called high swap count. And we've identified 3 ranges. Like if there's more than 50 swaps in a 5-minute period, price is going to move. If there's 100, price is going to move, and 150, price is going to move even more. Price is going to move, but in any direction. It could go up, could go down. The other one is buy-sell ratio. And it's not buy-sell ratio by volume, it's buy-sell ratio by unique swappers. So this is the kind of study we do. We do that, and then we present these to you like a menu. So here is a menu of signals. And we have some really cool ones out there, but we also have some cool ones coming. We have a top followed call channel. So a lot of eyeballs following on a project is usually bullish for the project. Everybody knows this, we've quantified it. And we can take that idea and put it into a strategy, and like I was showing you before, backtest the strategy. So this is a strategy for us. Now, these are like some simple signals. Minimum liquidity, 6 ETH. Minimum swap count, 50. Buy-sell ratio, run this, it's profitable. Another strategy, run it, it's not as profitable. You see, it's a different set of criteria, but now you can use, eyeball count, call channel eyeball count. We have a signal we're developing for marketing spend, because we all know marketing spend is an indicator. It's a good indicator that it's a good indicator that the project is serious. But how do you quantify that? Like if they have DEX tools on, if you only buy tokens that have DEX tools socials, what kind of results will you have? These are the kind of tools. So what ends up happening is the user can then combine these different signals into a strategy which they own because they discovered it. It's their alpha. And one thing I always like to say, if it's public, it's not alpha. Alpha is something you keep to yourself. Nobody's going to give you alpha. Lots of the signals out there, they tell you buy this, but they don't tell you when to sell it. And, so you need to have your own alpha. So this tool set lets you do that. And we kind of have the Giga monitor. Once you have a strategy, so you're not flooded with all kind of signals, it will only give you notices of these signals of basically triggers of your strategy. So you feed your strategy into Giga monitor, and now it's watching the chain, and it's going to inform you every time your entry or exit condition is hit. Now, right now, it just notifies you. But our next step, if there's enough demand for it, is to automate that. So let's say you get comfortable with the entry and then exit signals that Giga Monitor is sending you, you can just automate it. Then what you do is like we used to do, like Giga Dev I used to do, we let the strategy run for a week. At the end, we evaluate how it did. We tweak it. Markets have changed, and we run it again. And it's making 300, 400 trades a week. And slowly, we're basically improving like our win-loss ratio. We're improving that when there's a 10x win, how many 10x wins are we getting? And that's how you systematically do it. Now, for those users, I understand not every user is going to sit down and do all of this. For those users, we actually have a curated set of signals. We call it Giga signals. And those are curated by us. That's our strategy. We train that strategy ourselves. And we share it. It's one that's kind of in the middle of risk and return, and we feel suitable for most users. And then we're going to actually have 3 prepackaged strategies: low, medium, high. So you don't have to do all the work, but you still get to pick, kind of where you want to be on the risk return spectrum. But overall, what we're trying to do here is to bring a little bit of sophistication, intelligence, like a little bit of systematicness to degen trading, because we think it's the coolest place to be in crypto. It's the most fun, but the tool sets are just not there yet, like they are in like other types of trading, for example.
Yeah, and I do have another question. I 100% agree with you in terms of like where maybe the knowledge level is, in this space specifically, and that leads me to wanting to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing on behalf of like onboarding and education, and more so helping people understand if they're maybe using your tools to trade on, ETH versus SOL, some of the things they may need to look for, right? Because if people understand SOL, like there's no max wallets, there's certain things that, people would need to understand if they're maybe new to certain chains or wanting to utilize your tool to test it. So I am definitely curious to know how you guys are going to kind of play your part in the education and onboarding, and more so like chain, making sure people understand the multi-chain components that go into play.
I have some quick input there. Like, again, I think if I can just answer a part of that question. So one of the things we're trying to solve, right, when it comes to multi-chain, is the fact that, like, we're trying to bridge the gap between the centralized world and like the benefits and why people use centralized exchanges. And you'll notice that if you go into any of these centralized exchanges, Binance, Bybit, Coinbase, there's literally no mention of a chain other than when you have to like step out of the system, right? So what we are going to enable multi-chain. Most likely, it's going to look like how it currently looks at the beginning for other bots. But in the way that we're planning to build things is that you won't have to worry about understanding how the other chain works. For you, it's just going to be you just deal with your bot, and regardless of where the token contract lives, we'll handle the rest for you. Like users shouldn't need to worry about multi-chain. They should just be like, look, I want to buy this, and we'll make sure it gets done.
So it's speaking to the abstraction, it's like what they want to do versus how they want to get it done. So they kind of want to know what the token, what signals has it triggered. That can all be abstracted away into the background. Well, that's what they want to know. But how, like, to move money around, to wallet, et cetera, maybe the first time they're going to have to say, yeah, I do want to be trading on SOL. But then our bot should actually do the bridging, create the wallet, and do the trading on that end. Because it's not really their purpose to be managing, wallets on different chains. That's not the intent they come to our product for. They come to make money, regardless of where that is.
No, and I agree, right? And people definitely aren't looking to trade to lose, right? So you did bring up an important part, because I know, some of the inspiration behind this was, as a disruption, right? We've seen in the past what disruptors can do to specific industries, and with the sniping industry growing so much over the last year, there's definitely an opportunity for some kind of level of disruption, right? So I do want to kind of have you guys walk through that a little bit, because it's a fine line to walk between what people perceive as sniping just strictly for profits, and then what you guys are doing, which is more so systematic trading. But again, the end goal is still to make profits. So maybe from a perception or a psychology standpoint, I really just wanted to touch on what you guys mean when you say like you're looking to disrupt the sniping industry, and how you feel your trading approach can kind of play into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both have thoughts on that. One of the things is we've done so sniping, we've done a study on it. I don't know if you saw it. We did a data-centric study, and the average sniper loses money. That's just data, and they're maybe not even realizing they're losing money, because what sniping is actually doing is you're basically putting a bunch of people together. They're aggregating their bribe, and because the bribe is big, because you've put like a bunch of people together, you get ahead. But really what's happened is the first guy in the bundle, so there's an order in that sniping bundle. So let's say there's 50 people, each one puts up 0.1 ETH as a bribe, and one of them puts 0.15 ETH. That one person with 0.15 ETH is pretty much at the head of that bundle, and he's essentially hijacking the bribe of the rest. Now, of course, as the buys are happening, the price is getting higher. So the number 50 is getting a high price. And because he's also paid a bribe, actually being in the next bundle and being in the next block is cheaper. So being in block one would be cheaper. So sniping, like if you look at it for the first sniper, yeah, it's good. If you look at PvP. But if you look at for the industry as a whole, sniping is just a brute force kind of patch up over the problem of block ordering. And that's the problem. That's a blockchain. It's not a feature of blockchains. Front running is actually a problem of blockchains. So we are saying, it's actually better to not do a sniping thing, but to use these signals on the one hand. On the other hand, and in fact, one of our signals is desnipe. So desnipe is there's always a pump and a dump. So we only want to go into tokens when that's out of the way. That's the signal. But having said that, what GigaDev is going to show you is we actually have the concept of Giga Launch, which we believe is a better stealth launch, a better way to do it than just sniping. And so we're trying to solve the immediate problem, but also like solve it fundamentally, and just not via sniping, but for example, a fair snipe where everybody in that bundle gets the same price. Number one, and it has certain protections. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
I appreciate it.
Anything else? Yeah.
Always looking for some insight. I'll throw you the mic back if you want to jump into the presentation. And again, guys, I do apologize if sometimes my questions maybe throw you off the typical flow. I just really want to make sure I get your thoughts and kind of vision behind it, your perspective, perception, because it shows the knowledge you have, and as you guys scale up, that's an important thing that you guys can kind of add and build into your own community to make your community smarter and really understand how to use your tools that much more efficiently. So I appreciate it, and I'll give you the mic back.
Yeah, so I don't know, GigaDev, did you have any thoughts on that, or did you want to start like the next part of the presentation?
Yeah, no, you covered it pretty well, to be honest.
Okay. Well, why don't you then take it away with that's the Gigabots is phase one, but what we have cooking for phase two.
Yeah. So the presentation was supposed to give you guys this huge, leading up to this phase two, where we show you what's beneath the peak of the iceberg, right? but now that's where we're at. So what we started noticing, right, is that all of these bots started picking up, as Giga King was mentioning, and at first, we wanted to think, why is this happening, right? Well, first of all, they make it available through a nice UX, Telegram, right? You don't have to be clicking buttons on Uniswap, and every time you send a transaction and you're waiting, you're just praying for it to land, And hopefully you're not going to be front run by some guy and you're going to get sandwiched. So cool, they solved that. Next, they also made it fast, right? So from your perspective, like it also happens pretty fast. And then it comes to sniping, right? Which we just discussed. So what is sniping, right? So like if you ask somebody if they before they know what sniping is, to like whether they want to snipe a token or not, they wouldn't even understand. But sniping is just a way to mitigate and democratize the tools, so that smaller actors can compete in this like system that's currently built. So they made it so that it's fair by giving access to cool tools to other people and leveraging leveraging the multiple actors that are being put together to have like a higher bribe for the bundle. All right, so we realized that, okay. And then the other thing is that it's all happening on Telegram, right? So that's the hub. Like if you're in crypto, you're in Telegram. So we're seeing that, and we notice, well, what is this thing? Well, this is just the what we think is like the peak of this iceberg, where people want more things, but they just don't know it yet, right? And we're gonna try to capitalize on this by offering like users what it is that they really need. So a good analogy is like if like these guys are building faster horses and we're trying to build a car, right? So people are not aware of what they want, like at least not fully, or they're not thinking about it from first principles, and they're just jumping to whatever is available, which would be these other protocols. And they've done a great job, but they're not seeing the full picture once again in the way we're seeing it. So that's where we come in, right? In Gigabots, Gigabots are gonna be like the main communication channel with our users. And like there's another one of our slides that was shown previously where we show that we expect the UX for a user to be like conversational. You know, we expect really for you to be talking to agents. In reality, you don't need to worry about like different settings and configurations. If there's somebody that knows you very well, sort of like your own personal assistant for trading, then in reality, all you need to ask them is what you intend to do, right? So we're talking about, hey, I want to buy this token, right? So that's how we expect it to be. But underneath the hood, we're going to start adding these other features into our whole protocol that's going to make it more reliable, and better for users. Now, Giga King, if you can go back to the iceberg, yeah. So, okay, so where do we start? So, for example, we want to solve sniping from a first principles perspective. So, with that came the idea of launching the Giga Launch platform, right? And this is sort of going to be like a mix of what you guys have seen in like the Launchpad, a mix of Uniswap V2, and a mix of like token vesting and LP locking. So right now we just deployed our token, and to be fair, it was a pain in the butt. Like there were so many things we had to do just to make sure that it met all the checks that users expect from a respectable protocol. And that entitled that meant investing the tokens, locking the liquidity, making sure like the different token sniffers and scanners will catch us and not flag us for having a higher tax than normal, getting an audit, providing enough liquidity, all of this so that we can ensure to users that this is not a rug pull, this is not a bad thing. But what if those features were already built in? So what we're thinking we're doing through Giga Launch is we're going to create this launch platform where we're sort of going to bet, and we're not going to bet, but we're going to make token developers fit into like, if they want to launch through the platform, they got to like things like token locking and specific protection for users like high taxes, blacklists, and things like that are already going to be built into the system. And through Gigabots, you'll have access to these specific special launches, right? And you'll for sure know that you're protected. The next feature that comes with that, and one that we've seen, like the reason why centralized exchanges are still like major, is leverage trading, right? So we want to enable leverage for these. We want to enable trading for all these coins, right? Like most of the time, you notice that when one of these new coins is listed on a centralized exchange, when people are looking for like a perp to be enabled. Well, what we plan to do is allow leverage trading both in the tokens that get launched through the Giga Launch platform and the ones in external ones, like ones that are launched through Uniswap. We have a couple of methodologies of how we plan to accomplish that. But in the end, it'll have like a flywheel effect because we're gonna start with a margin model where users will get lending and these sorts of things, and towards the end, more like towards like a 50x sort of leverage, we're expecting to deploy like derivative contracts that will be like perps built on top of, for example, for even our own token, we'll have a perp pretty easily. The next phase of that is then GigaTrader Elite. Okay, so GigaTrader Elite is like the 3 bots that we have. We're gonna combine them into this sort of like super bot right? Like the features, we're gonna take some user input, see what you guys show us that you like from them, how we can improve on them, and we're gonna try to put it all into this sort of like master Gigabot, right? And this guy is gonna be like your personal assistant that we just mentioned, right? He'll know what you like. He'll be able to, through natural language processing, like understand your query. So what that really means is, from your perspective as a user, is you still be telling them, hey, look, I wanna 50% of my portfolio in ETH at all times, generating some revenue at a specific, like maybe something like a staking system, and the other 50%, I want to have 30% of that on like high caps, and the rest, I want to be able to invest in the next launches in the platform and rotate them bi-weekly, etc. Maybe the example I just gave is too complicated, but it could go all the way to that, and it'll just feel conversational. And he's gonna make sure that he understands from you, and he'll execute the trades for you. He'll be your like if an old school broker that used to call people over the phone, that's sort of the feel that we're looking for. You know, he'll be your friend. He'll call you, and you let him know what you want, and he'll make sure that it gets executed. And then last is the Giga chain, right? So once again, all of these things that we're building, right? We want to give people the feature set that you would find in a centralized exchange, with the benefits of of decentralization and transparency. And the way that we're going to do that is through Giga chain. We're going to have our own chain that's going to allow where most of our order flow is going to be occurring, and that's going to give us the ability to incorporate certain things like that are very specific to trading, make sure that fees are not that high. Also gives us a lot of freedom so that we can offer users like the sort of things that they would expect from something sophisticated, but and like almost like a centralized exchange feel. But the big key takeaway is that all of this is going to be recorded on chain, so you'll have the transparency of knowing where your assets are, and you'll feel very comfortable. And we all think that's kind of where this is going. This is playing a little bit into the whole chain thesis that you guys have probably heard. So that's what Giga chain would be. Now, to summarize, these 5 products are all independent revenue streams, right? The bots generate fees on transactions. The Giga Launch platform is going to have its own fee model. Leverage trading is also going to have its own revenue. They're all going to have it. And all of this is going to circle back to token holders. And that's what we plan on doing.
I think that's, well, I had a couple of earlier questions, but then you kind of covered them off in your later explanation, Dev. So I'm glad I didn't jump off the mic too early there. And no, I appreciate you breaking down that detail for us. And it's really kind of interesting what you guys are trying to build. And I do want to ask a little bit more on the other side of potential revenue that you guys can generate as you grow, like the user base and kind of focus on the onboarding and everything, is advertising within the platform, right? And within your tools, because that has been, if you think about these other snipers or trading tools that you guys kind of alluded to earlier, like they do have a decent amount of advertising coming in because of the exposure that they get in different channels. So that is a portion in an area of the conversation I wanted to cover. I'm not sure if you think it would be best served now or if you wanted to save that till later on. But yeah,
Maurice, I think I have actually a strong opinion on that. And my opinion is, like, when we first did this, there's like 4 or 5. I have in one of my Telegram accounts, I have 500 Telegram channels like signed up to. I'm literally getting 1 call a minute, like 1 call a second, something like that. It says millions of messages. And the majority of them are paid. You know what I mean? So all these signals that users think they're getting, signals, are really just paid marketing. So we, as a kind of philosophy, do not want to do paid marketing for tokens. We want the signals to be based on the data. And we feel it'll be a conflict of interest if we start charging for that. You know what I mean? So we kind of are taking the approach where we're not going to do advertising like that. But on the other hand, with a Giga launch platform, those will be like high initially, because what's happened is you may think that's roadmap, but really we have the next couple of launches, almost ready to go. And those will be curated. Like those will be people, initially the people we know, we vetted, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where vetting will happen. But I don't think we're going to be an advertising platform because I feel that will take away from the actual, I guess, non-biasedness or impartiality of our actual signals. And so that's kind of one of the other differentiators, I think, between us and some of the other signals out there.
You know what? That is a very different approach, I would say, and it's somewhat refreshing. I think a lot of the time, when you're talking about advertising, it's like taking, it becomes tough, right? Because you're giving potential exposure to your community, and if you're not like fully vetting, or if anything goes wrong, then you open yourself up to potential liability and whatnot. So I get that, especially if it's paid, right? Because if it's more so casual or not endorsed, it's a little bit lighter to stomach if something ever happened. But if you guys are taking payments and then projects are not performing, then that's going to potentially hurt the perception of your overall Giga brand, which is not what your intent would be. So no, it makes sense from a thought processing standpoint why you wouldn't go that route. And if you guys are able to generate revenue elsewhere to offset that, I mean, there's not really a need, correct? So maybe going into some of those other offsetting areas would be a good kind of transition point.
Yeah, it's like, for example, in the Giga Launch platform, the reason we are willing to launch other projects is we plan to have built-in protections for investors. Like, one of the features we want to have is community takeover. The wallets are not going to be exclusively in the control of the dev to rug in the first. So that's going to, obviously, the scammers are not going to like our platform, but that's good. Then let that be a screen. But the community that's bought the token should have some systematic way of doing a community takeover, rather than all these random things where only one person's setting up a Telegram, then a competing group is setting up a Telegram, and I'm taking over. Let's just have it systematically. You see, all those things that have been built, like Uniswaps, they haven't been built for this particular use case of new low cap degen trading. So that's what I mean. Like, we'll be willing to do that because we'll have protections. If there is something under the control, the community has to have a way. Those token holders have to have a way of putting some checks and balances on the team, and that's why we think we're more willing to do that versus like advertising. I really do think it dilutes our signal, and signal is kind of one of our bread and butter. It should stand on the data. The data should speak for itself. But that's just our take. There's different. I understand. Like, for example, there's a big difference between sort of like advertising marketing channels, right? Like, that's why we only want to work with guys like you. We don't want to. There's a whole bunch of botted channels out there, and we did our research, and it's scary, And so that's the thing. So I guess you got to associate with good people. That's a prerequisite, but. In our perspective, because we are such a data-driven signals type of platform, we don't want to dilute that.
I think it's really smart. And again, like I said to you, you guys do seem like you have a good thought process, and you do a great job between yourself and GigaDev there at kind of explaining the why behind things. And I said it to you in DMs, a lot of the projects kind of touch on the what or the action items, but a lot of the times they miss on being able to properly explain like the why or the thought process behind it. So no, I appreciate the detail there from you on that. And I feel like, again, I really want to spend a good amount of time on the tools, the features, and the user experience. So I know it bounces around a little bit because it is a bit more conversational style. And as you guys kind of hit on points, I like to tie things back together. But I wanted to go maybe the next 5 to 10 minutes, really deep diving the actual features and user experience compared to competitors and how you guys integrate community feedback, which is a really big piece.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with the community feedback. So when we were building, we had this product. It was just very hard to get attention, without basically having a token. Now that we have a token, we're getting the attention we need, and now I think we're actually going to be able to get that kind of feedback because we are starved for feedback. We have like several paths we can take. we can build signals. We have really cool signals planned. We can go in that direction, or we can build automation, or we can do multi-chain and go on a bunch of chains. We've built our tech in a way that it's pretty easy for us to do that. And then we have Gigabots. So really what we like that. So right now we finally have attention. So the first thing we're really starving for is that feedback. Like, how do we prioritize these features? The second thing, which I think we're like a two-man team, right? I mean, we have some outsourced help, but we're pretty much a two-man team. We have not done such a great job in explaining our tech, to be honest, and it's just because of the lack of time. Even our docs are not complete. Like, what we have has not been well explained. And we're hoping through our community, we're going to meet some people who can really help us kind of bridge that gap, going from, whenever you have a sophisticated, powerful technology, you do need to kind of make it accessible and explain it in accessible language. So that's a bridge. To be honest, it's a challenge. And we've not done a good job at it at all. And that's why I think a lot of people, when we talk to them, these light bulbs go off. But if you just come and, you're like, what are these three bots? How do they work together? And for us, because we're working them, we know them, we're like, hey, this is so simple, but it's not. So that's definitely one of our challenges to make this like the user education. You've said it twice, and I wanted to say this the first time you said it. That's definitely something we have to get much better on. And maybe, GigaDev and I are not the people ourselves to do it. So we are looking for people in our community who people have different strengths. And we would love to have somebody who can get that messaging, and maybe, join our team or work with us.
Oh, it's funny how that works, right? Like, you're building, and like, you're focused on the community, you're focused on kind of gearing up everything. And I've seen that before, right? You're like, oh man, the white paper, what we put together was something we made like 2-3 months ago. Things have really like shifted or changed since that point in time. I kind of agree in the sense that like you have a really good job, like you do an amazing job explaining the thought processing, but I really want to make sure we cover off like a good chunk for the actual tools and the tech itself, because with your knowledge and what you're trying to do, being like a somewhat first mover with the way you're combining the different aspects in the tech, definitely want to make sure we don't overlook that. So I will throw it back to you there.
Yeah, I think definitely videos are a big one that's been on our plate. Just have not, managed to get the time. But some demo videos, like sort of what we're doing, but maybe a little more detailed to show how the pieces fit together. Because I've had that feedback. We have user manual, right? But people don't read these days, So they're like, how do these work together? But as soon as I say there's Giga Trader, there's Analyst, and there's Monitor, and this is how they work, and they're like, cool. So we do need to get this stuff down in video, Maybe this AMA, who knows? We can maybe start with this one.
Yeah, we had some posts, like people were asking if we had an audit, and we literally, like a couple of guys asked if we had an audit, and we had the audit in the announcements channel. So yeah, sometimes people we gotta make sure to guide them through the process so that it's easy for them to digest.
Are you guys going to be rolling out kind of like video onboarding or video based tools where people can just walk through and follow like little demonstrations of how to use the tech, and that way, time management on behalf of yourself and other team members can be allocated, towards the development side, community management, and less back and forth, maybe onboarding people?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was trying to say. Video is the next. We have the docs, but I think video is the next thing we got to take on. And like I said, there's two of us. Maybe we need some help with that. So we are, by the way, looking for people right now to help us on the content and video side. So now that we have a growing community, I think we're going to find people. We're getting approached, so let this launch go smoothly. Videos has been on my plate for a while, and now is the time, because you're right. We're finding we're saying the same thing again and again, and a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video is probably worth 1,000 pictures. So
Not wrong. I like, that could be a new saying right there. For everybody listening.
That's giga, is it? A billion? No,
Yeah.
that's a million. It's not giga.
No, but really think that will help onboarding, and like I said, just allow you guys from a time management perspective to not, I don't want to use the word force, but not kind of be required to allocate too much time to what I would say is more menial day-to-day stuff versus like the grand scheme of like the vision and ensuring like the tech and development, maintenance on everything on the back end is smooth and ensures a good experience for users, because that's what's going to help with the adoption. And, definitely from a word of mouth perspective, the better experience people have using the tech and kind of going through the flow to get involved in your community, your project, the more likely they are to spread that around. So just ensuring that, the kind of touch points to Giga is as smooth and as simple as possible is going to really allow you guys to also kind of inherently save on some of the marketing costs, as word of mouth can be really effective that way. So
yeah, point well taken.
Yeah. So anyways, let's go into, I know you guys had walked us through like some of the tools. Now, I guess what's your take on people who will take the signals without maybe taking the responsibility for making the buy? Because that's the interesting thing about signals when you're talking about, the space is nobody is, putting a gun to your head and saying, you have to buy this now, like buy it. But it's giving you, like you said, a signal. It's giving you an indicator of what could potentially happen. Now, like you said, people don't read. Well, people also sometimes don't like to take responsibility when they buy certain things. So how do you guys as a project just respond to and mitigate those potential negative conversations that can come into the community? Because that is, you want to make sure the vibe remains high within the overall community and Telegram there.
Yeah. I think one of the things like signals, first of all, people need to think probabilistically, not like in black and white. And the problem, with sometimes developers, coders, they think very black and white, zeros or ones, right? Like this is a good buy, this is a bad buy. It's just not the case. It's probability. And as soon as you have probability, it's a numbers game. And we do get signals. Hey, we've issued signals and it ended up being a rug pull. It does happen a certain percentage of the time. But if you're only going to take one bet and that turns into a rug pull, that's bad. But if you're going to take 250 bets and, I don't know, 5% of them are rug pulls, you can still do okay. And that's what people need to realize. It's just the higher the risk in anything, the more diversification you need. And in our game, that means spreading your bets. So yeah, signals are probabilistic. They have a probability of indicating price. And like I said before, it's not just a signal. You need like a strategy, right? You need entry signal, exit signal, filter. Are you only going to do tokens which have at least a website, social media presence? Are you going to go into everything? What minimum liquidity? So it's until you put all those things together. So you can't just blame a signal on its own. To me, you can't say it lost you money. It's your strategy that lost you money. A signal, you can, that's kind of my take on it. I don't know, Giga, what are your thoughts around that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a guy named James Simmons. He's the founder of Renaissance Technologies. And they were asking him something about like how he will predict stuff, if his algorithms are able to predict. And basically he said, look, we're only right 51% of the time, but that is 100% of the time, we're right 51% of the time. So what that basically means is that you got to spread your bets, and that's what we plan to always talk with our users in our communities. Like you can't rely on one signal, because then you have to think about them in aggregation and as a group, and that's how you should handle dealing with them. We do our job on our end to try to do our best for curating them, to keep them updated, to make sure that once it stops being at least predictive and have what's called positive expected value, then we'll try to we'll remove them from the system and make them available as we find new ones. But it's a matter of thinking in big numbers, and that's what we're always going to praise to our users.
Yeah, it's like let's say you were like how fundamental versus technical analysis. if you're a fundamental analyst, right, you're deciding to buy Google or Facebook or whatever, you can do your analysis and say, hey, this is my long-term hold. I did all my research. I'm going to bet on this. It's a pretty stable, it's not a high-risk thing, and you can do it. Now you're in degen world where you don't know if this token's going to rug. You don't know, you don't even know who the people are behind it, So you just can't take the same approach of picking, these are my 3 or 4 plays, right? You got to be making 3-4 plays a day, 5 plays. And if you look at anybody, how they do it, this is the typical workflow. Yeah, sure, the bots that you buy, you have one page open on the community, Telegram, and you're like listening to a lot of noise there, and the other one on the DEX tools chart. And you're trying to decide when to get in, when to get out. That's the current status quo. Now we're saying statistically, you need to be doing hundreds of trades a week. Let's say at least 100 a week. Now, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to do like 10 of those. How many screens you're going to have open, right? So this problem is there. People don't realize it's a problem, because there's always this news, say, I made so much, and it keeps kind of like people's hopes up. But it's just not a realistic thing to do. The more riskier, the more bets you have to make. The more bets you have to make, the more automation you need. And you need to work on statistical basis, not on a, this is good and this is bad basis.
I think, really well said. And again, it does actually play into a question here that I was sent from a community member. Diamond Hands is their username. They were curious, how do you guys weight some of the factors that go into creating the signals when it comes to sentiment versus price action? So again, really interesting question there from Diamond Hand.
Deb, you want to take that one, or should I take a shot at it?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what he meant by sentiment. I
would say market sentiment is more so like community discussion, how like the social discussion around the token versus when I say price action, that's more so just anything related to chart movement. So more so perception versus chart movement, I guess, would be a good way to look at what I feel as sentiment in terms of how people view something versus what it's actually doing on a chart.
Yeah, so, okay, that's actually pretty good. And I mean, there's a lot that you could unpack. But for example, if the sentiment's pretty, right, so if you think about sentiment, right, and price, like if the sentiment is high, but the price is, let's say that the sentiment is bullish, but the price is bearish, like there's a divergence there. There's an issue there. There's something maybe that you're not missing. Maybe there's something going on that's not happening, that you're not seeing, But I guess that's not really the question, right? So I guess the best way to answer that question is that it depends on what the signal is. Not all of our signals are based on sentiment. So actually very few are, because it's the hardest thing to quantify. So in the end, like what we're doing is the way that we use a quantitative approach, right? So even if we wanted to not use price action as an input, that's kind of like the objective. That's what we're aiming for. Like the way that we know if our signals are good and predictive is if price behaves, like if price does a positive or negative change based on the signal. So we're always looking at price as part of this whole thing of cooking these different signals up. And sometimes we use sentiment to see if it's predictive of it. But maybe I didn't understand the question perfectly, but I guess that kind of answers it as best as I understood it.
I think the tricky thing about sentiment, it's a very noisy signal. Like it's been proven, like Twitter sentiment analysis, like that's people say Twitter sentiment analysis. It's very noisy. One of the things is we try to do proxy. Like for example, we have top followed call channel as a signal. So if some token is being called by a lot of, and I think some others do this as well, right? The number of call channels that are calling it, that's kind of like a proxy, because now you're getting something like qualitative or subjective and quantifying it. Because if a lot of call channels are calling it, and these call channels have like, a good kind of track record, and you can get that stuff from like stuff like SPY DeFi, and there's another one. So then it's kind of like a proxy. Another one is eyeballs, like how many eyeballs. So if a lot of call channels are calling it, it must be getting it for a lot of eyeballs. That for us is a much easier way kind of to deal with these kind of non-quantitative things. then to kind of assess how do people feel about it. And stuff like that. So I think we do have some plans to get into like maybe Twitter buzz, like how many times the token's been mentioned. And actually, we don't even need the data directly. We can get it from some. There's some projects that do that. But then we got to correlate that with price and see if there's actually how much noise there is, because it may not be. It may be like might not be a good signal anyways. And I do know that these non-quantitative, like price is probably usually the signal that has the most signal versus noise, and that's why like it's easiest to work with. And I think in the degen space, there's some other cool ones like this one we mentioned, marketing spend. That's kind of trying to quantify how serious the team is, but you can't just quantify that. But what you can quantify is how much they've spent on marketing. Right? If they've even bothered to have a website and they have socials, they paid for socials, and you'll see that there's like tons of tokens launched. I think even in a day, the bar is very low. As soon as you start at filtering, you're already into the maybe 100, maybe the 50 range already. So you've already done a lot of filtering with these very simple signals. So if people just start applying these, I think they're already, they're doing pretty good with some of these simple ones. Before we get into like, sentiment. And sentiment, as far as I know, even for a bot to understand positive or negative sentiment, you get like a 60% accuracy on that. Like 60, 70% is about as good as you get on trying to understand sentiment within like a text, for example, in text recognition. So.
Yeah, another thing to add to that is now that if you think about sentiment, let's say we were to like scrape all of Twitter for a specific hashtag, to figure out the sentiment for like a stock, right? Well, how do we weight each one of those users that we find them with, like, whether bullish or bearish sentiment? But in the market, like you would weigh them equally. Like there's no other way. Maybe you weigh them. Maybe you give them a specific weight based on their followers. But what we found is that what you would need to know in order to be able to apply that is like how are they stakeholders in the stock. And there's currently no way to tie like their sentiment that they're giving out to the public to like their brokerage account, so that we can know, well, this guy owns a lot and he's bullish, so we should give him a high weight. This guy owns a very little and is bearish, so we should give him a very little weight. So that's why it's hard to tie sentiment with like actual price.
No, that's again, makes sense. You guys are great at explaining your answers, and don't give me too much to come back with. So kudos to you there. And I did have another question here. It plays off of this one's from Benova. His question is just so more what source or like what type of APIs, like where are you getting the data from when it comes to tracking the signals and price action?
Sweet. So that's my alley. So we have a bunch of sources. The best one is on-chain, right? So, and basically we're connected to a node, and we're listening to all the events that are being emitted. And I think the coolest part of this whole whole signal generation data pipeline is not so much where like getting it from the chain, is how we actually convert that information that's like raw transactional data into different features, and like things that we want to pay attention to. But yeah, we use on-chain stuff mainly. We use a few APIs, like centralized exchange APIs, in order to be able to see if there's any divergence. But given the shitcoin space, there's not a lot of these coins listed on it. It's not very useful for the current for the type of users that are using our product. But we did do that in the past. And a little bit of Twitter API, but that's still the development. We haven't launched we haven't deployed our Twitter-based signals yet.
No, again, I appreciate the question, Benova. Always have some good ones for us, so thank you for sending that through to me. Now, again, I know we've spent a lot of time talking about kind of the current utility, some of the things you guys are doing. What are some of the bigger wins that you guys have seen so far within the tool? And again, I know it's all about the consistency side of things, not so much, 1,000Xs or anything, but what are some of the nicer wins, or maybe ones that you guys identified early that have kept running outside of the initial signal indicator given? Sorry, mouthful.
Yeah, so we have some bangers. We have some real good ones. But the way so the way that we're tracking those in order to showcase to users is through, Giga King talked about Giga Signals, right? So Giga Signals, if you guys search for it, it's at Giga Signals. It's a channel we developed where our Giga monitor posts signals, curated signals for users. So it's kind of like this sort of like signal feed that we curate for like newcomers. And one of the things we've been doing for the past months to like highlight its performance is we always post within the Giga Signals a performance report of the day. So just to give you guys, I'm actually going into it right now on my end, and there's some very, very good. So we've had 100Xs. Let me see if I can find the last 100X that we had on there. So 100.
You can share your screen if you want.
Yeah, I got a couple stuff on my going on in my desk right now, but we've had a few. We've had quite a few. I just gotta see if I can find some that I can name for you guys right away. So I think X. I know how to do that. Hold on, give me just a second. I'll share some stuff. But let me see. So January 21st, what we're looking for is this icon. So search. Hold on, guys. Give me just a moment. That's one. So yeah, go into Giga Signals, and one of the daily reports, I'll tell you which one was the juiciest one. So for example, on January 16, we caught a couple 12Xers. And these
one of the things I just want to point out, we put everything out there. So good ones and bad ones, we don't delete. So, and the other good thing, like this is our Giga Signal, this is our curated signals, like the one we cured the strategy. It's not like spam. Like we issued 3 signals, 2 out of them, were like 1.3 to 6.5. And if you just scroll through the days, you kind of see every day what we do. So we kind of make it easy for you to test out. Look at that. That's a 60X within 12 hours. And, again, only 4 signals. It's not like we had 40 signals and we delete, 30 of them and show you the best 10. We show you everything. We show you the top 3 and we show you like, this kind of ratio. But usually the denominator is not that big. Like this was a bad day, and we still published December 26th. Well, it was December 26th, so no surprise there. But yeah, I don't know if we had some like these ones. Oh, okay. Yes, these are in percent, so it's a bit, 4.86.
Yeah, we've been iterating on this a little bit.
There's some winners every day, and there's not that many signals. So if you actually took the time to sit there with these 10 signals, or 5, we're doing like, let's say 5 to 10 signals a day. That's a good, if you want to reduce the noise in your life, it's a pretty good place to start. And the thing is, maybe we haven't sold it enough, but more people should be using this. Yeah, I mean, 28X, 9 signals, 5 signals, 9.6X, and it's consistent. And like I said, it's not like 50 signals and we're deleting the old ones. So it's like one of those things, man, Maurice, we got to market this better,
Yeah. And a small caveat with that, we're actually showing the 24-hour performance. So we're working on having sort of like these tombstones that you guys have seen before. We're like, look, our channel called this thing and had like 250X all-time high. And these actual performance stats are based on the 24 hours. So there's a lot of these tokens that actually have run for more than that, but just a small little caveat for you guys to be aware of.
Yeah, no, definitely, you got a lot of knowledge that we definitely want to kind of market and push out around that, and maybe even like kind of have your own separate little rollout for like this side of the project and just educating people.
Here you just did. Our signal picked up a Giga because you called it. So Caesar is a top 10, top followed call channel, and you guys called Giga, and that's a signal. That's interesting.
Nice.
I just saw
cool.
that.
It's neat to see
picked
it
it up.
action. I think you guys pushed over like 200K. I saw back around like 190, 195. So yeah, no, it's been going well in the early stages, and Yeah, definitely. You guys have a lot of knowledge in this space. Now, I do still want to spend some time. I know we're kind of it's actually been an hour and a half already. Holy cow!
About an hour and a half, but we're cool.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it's been that long.
Questions.
You know, really good discussion so far, guys. So I do want to go into some of the, you know, we're not going to spend as much time, you know, we won't go as deep right now into some of the future plans and future utilities that you guys will be rolling out, like your GigaPad and whatnot. But I do want to just introduce them to people in the audience, and for anybody listening, maybe kind of give soft timelines or a ballpark on when some of these things can you look to roll out, if that works for maybe the closing, and then I'll give you 5-10 minutes on the back end for calls to action and anything we maybe missed or you want to leave people with at the back end.
So one of the things is we do have a roadmap here on our website, right? So it's kind of broken down into categories. Around strategies, we have like cell signals, automation, and curated, like high, medium, low. The thing is, you know, we can put our resources behind whatever the people want. So we really need to know if this is something, the direction we want to go, simplifying the process and curation, or do they want more hardcore signals? Here's Twitter sentiment, by the way. Whale exit, chat devs, bad devs, you know, TG call quality, marketing buzz. So we can go in this direction. And then we also have multi-chain. And, you know, multi-chain may be the lowest hanging fruit because that can be rolled out rather quickly. But again, we don't want to build something that people are not going to use. So it's the feedback we're looking for. And GigaDev, do you want to give any estimates on this part of the roadmap? What timeline we're looking at?
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So like he said, it depends, right? So we have limited, so in the way that we're taking on development is that we have limited resources and we're prioritizing based on what users want. So it basically all depends, to be honest. There's not much, a lot of these things are already undergoing. So, for example, like we could either go multi-chain and we could be multi-chain on any of the EVM chains, I would say within a week. Right? It's just a matter of which one. Like, we don't know if we want to go into AVAX or BNB. We actually deployed on base, but we brought it back because nobody was going to use it. So we do have like a lot of the code base for EVM chains is easy to plug and play. Solana is a little bit different, but once the team, like once the community decides, hey guys, let's go on to Solana, I'm estimating anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. So that's on the multi-chain side. And the signals, one of the things we realized is that we have like the signal development pipeline too, right? So the way we approach a lot of the scaling for our different features is that if we define them as a sort of like category of features, right? So for example, multi-chain will be a category of features and signals will be another category of features, is that we try to become a factory for them. We try to make our code base easily extendable to do other things. Now, bringing that back to signals, what I'm trying to say is we pretty much, we estimate, or we're currently at what's the word that I'm looking for here? Currently, for us to deploy a new signal, the amount it takes to develop it is around 3 to 4 days. And during the first days, we'll gather some data. Then we have some extensive testing. We have optimization algorithms that make sure everything matches, and if we get the green light and the product is good, then we deploy it to users. So it's not a matter of like, it's just a matter of like what the users want and which ones we should work on first. But we're set up to start working on these anytime. And then we go into like the second part of the roadmap. This one is so I'm gonna give you guys like the absolute best answer while staying very transparent. So, for example, the Giga Launch platform is the one that we're planning to launch first because this is what we really want to work on, like, as a team. So unless users really want us to work on something else for the time being, we're probably going to work on the Giga Launch platform first. And we already have a couple of projects lined up to be the initial projects that are going to launch the Giga Launch platform, and that's probably we're talking about another like a month to have the Giga Launch platform ready. Leverage trading is going to take a little longer. We're talking about anywhere from 2 to 4 months. And that's because we have to set up everything so that, because leverage trading is going to have a set of users that are going to provide the leverage and another set of users that are going to use the leverage. And we got to make sure that we're able to coordinate them nicely. So we have a lot of things to work on that side. GigaTrader Elite is probably going to take anywhere around 6 to 8 months. So mainly because GigaTrader Elite is going to build on the feedback that we gathered from our current 3 bots. So if you guys remember from earlier, what we want GigaTrader Elite to be is get everything that we learned from the current 3 bots and just deliver it in one package, and not have to deal with like a clunky UX with different Telegram buttons and like messages and a huge chat that starts building up as you start using them. But we want to know which features people are really using, which ones we can iterate over, and then bring it all together into this nice, very nice package, which will be the GigaTrader Elite. So that one, we're thinking anywhere from 6 to 9 months. That was definitely going after Gigabots platform leverage trading. And then the Giga Chain, just off the top of my head, there's multiple ways that we can do this. So one, most likely at this current stage, what we're looking into using as a tech stack will be the Optimism tech stack. So we'll probably, most likely will be an L2. And development for that, we will need a couple of developers to help me out. And it'll take us approximately about a year from now to have it ready. So these are all like approximate numbers, but that's the idea.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that, guys. Now, the leverage trading, I think some people were just curious because of the volatility of, degen tokens and whatnot, like where the essential, it's hard to phrase, but like where a pool may come in if you guys are going to have any, just because of the risk associated. Like just it's tough to offer leverage trading on degen tokens just because of how quickly they can go up or down. So like, are there mins and max you guys are going to have in place to reduce the risk or exposure you guys have? Just trying to get curiosity on that.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a lot of the details we still gotta iron them out. But the basic way to think about it is that if we have what we need first to have is order flow, right? So for example, if you guys think about if you guys look at the open interest for like Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of these altcoins, higher than 100, like the top 100 market cap altcoins that have perps and Bybit and Binance. You'll see sometimes that the open interest is way higher than the circulating supply. And so you don't technically need to have the token in order to leverage it. What you need is counterparties that'll trade against each other. So that's one of the ways. So, but that one is a bit complicated, and we're still modeling how that's going to work. But that's how most likely we're going to offer the leverage trading. The simpler way, which we'll probably roll out before, is through margin trading. So I don't know if you guys ever before there was BitMEX, there used to be Bitfinex that offered margin trading, and the way that it worked is that you used to get up to 5x leverage trading, and you would borrow from somebody. That's what we're going to do. Now, in order to do that, we can't offer it for all tokens because you don't necessarily have a counterparty that you're trading against. You're just borrowing in order to buy it. What we're going to do is we're building a smart contract where we're going to use it to make sure that it sort of lock. It's kind of like a lock, and there's a lot of details that we if we get into right now, this conversation might take a while. But short answer is not all tokens. At first, not all tokens are going to be able to be leverage trade. We're going to start with margin trading, which is going to give you around 5x. But the plan is to expand and get up to 50x. And the way that we'll get to 50x is that we're going to generate perps for tokens using our own order flow. So you have if you're going long, somebody else is going short, and we'll use what's the word that we'll use
funding rate?
Interest. Yeah, we'll use the funding rate in order to make sure that things always converge into the actual price of the product.
I love it, and it makes sense. I mean, I definitely know people have been kind of burned in the past on some of those high volatile leverage trading. I mean, it's tough, but if you guys have, I think just with your experience and maybe the focus on the smaller gains, not so much the aping everything, for lack of a better term, just really maybe focusing on some research and then allowing leverage trades on like better vetted projects or more research projects, where you guys can not give your like approval, but at least people know like there's a certain layer or standard for a token to end up in that protocol to be able to be leverage traded or something like that. So that would be, a way that you guys can grow the strength or the trust in that side of the project, as you scale it. Just adding, I know nothing's 100% guaranteed. I get that nothing can be, but just having a few extra layers of vetting into those projects that you're maybe allowing to be leveraged could make it a more attractive way and give you guys a bit more traction into that side of the project.
That's a very good point, because that could be part of the Giga Launch platform. And that's why these things build on each other, right? So if a project wants its token, to allow token leverage, it can be the one providing, the margin, right? It can be the one providing margin on its own token. And that's what I mean. Like, that's what we mean. Like, it's kind of like the pieces are there, the concepts are there, but to put them in the application of these kind of degen low caps, don't think it's been done, vertically, like all the way from the beginning to the end. That's a very good point you raised. Like, those tokens, those projects are vetted, and it's in their interest to allow, more users to trade, because remember, they're also making fees, right? So there's the fee part of it, and token, the taxes. And so maybe they're the ones who are going to be providing the margin to borrow. And so it kind of would work together. But, we really need, it's kind of like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And so there's going to be some gray until we get there and actually solve specific problems related to it.
You guys kind of, like that suggestion or that idea. Now, I won't go into the chain because that's kind of a farther, venture. But the launch platform, is it going to be focused more so on like stealth launches and like more like you guys kind of rolled out like, 5 ETH to LP, 3 ETH to LP, kind of build out a community and go from there versus more the traditional like pre-sale raise mentality? Because I have been noticing that, these stealth style launches, been performing pretty well, even if they're more utility based lately. So kind of an interesting thing to weigh out as a team.
Yeah, I think our concept is for them to be the stealth launches. Basically, our launch is supposed to be a model launch. And that's why when we said we have a few projects signed up, they want to see how ours went. And I think ours has gone well so far. And they want to follow a similar approach. As opposed to these guys who are, doing a pre-sale, having them dump on the retail. And if you're trying to build a user base in a community, that's like not the best way to do it. Because, And the thing is, one of the things we haven't highlighted is we actually did a little bit of, as usual, we did data analytics on the actual marketing aspect of it as well. So we studied all the token launches. Like, we can produce right now a report of the 30, 20, 30, like the best token launches in the last 30 days. What was their tokenomics? How did they do? How was the trading? How are the taxes? What tax level they set? Which marketing channels they used? Okay, which call channels they used? And we actually did that analysis, and we kind of made our short list according to that. So that's one of the things we want to help our, the projects that come to us with is the, the whole thing, like how to market yourself, how to pick the right channels to market on. Basically, like our launch is like a model launch for those ones. And like I said, everything we do, like we can give anybody a list of this is how the tokens launch, this is how they did. Now, if they, not locking your liquidity, this is how you would do. If you lock your liquidity, this is how the market is perceiving you, and stuff like that.
No, I think that's I think that will be a good way to roll it out personally. And market right now. These big pre-sale raises, as you even alluded to, with your past project, it's definitely tough when you're starting at a much higher cap and expectations for, larger investors, or they want to get a sizable return. And at, at certain levels, it becomes much more difficult, right? And also even people understanding, with you guys, you have fairly thick LP compared to the overall market cap. So is there any plans to try and over time, maybe reduce that LP pool slowly to allow the chart to move a little bit quicker? I mean, there's projects out there in the space like Link, who we've hosted as well, that are really, really good when it comes to decentralizing liquidity for projects and helping them to reduce that, overall ratio. So yeah, just different conversations or partners you may be able to look to if that's something you may look to do as well, because I know everyone's talking about, you guys have about 25% LP ratio, and most projects are around 10%. And even for me, that's good. And a lot of what you see on these days is 2 to 5%, which is a little bit weak in my opinion, but it's kind of what the market is showing these days. So yeah, just any thoughts on the LP or the ratios to allow it a little bit more movement on some larger buys potentially?
Actually, that's something that we had not really thought of. Because what we wanted to do was make it so that it was okay, so the reason why you see those guys do that is because a lot of the tokens are not made available for users. So one of the things we wanted to do is make it so that the majority of our tokens will be available for our users to acquire, become part of the Giga community, be part of our stakeholders, and be able to help us build this whole thing together. Now, having said that, if we'll probably need to discuss it internally and with the community, but that might not be a bad idea, And most likely what we'll do to make sure that everything is nice, if we were to do something like that, is as maybe once the current liquidity is unlocked, we might remove some of it and immediately either burn or lock the rest of the token or something like that. But that's not a bad input, actually. Thanks for that.
So now, again, guys, I know I'd kind of only typically block off about 60, 75 minutes for these, and we have been running longer. But if there's anything else that you wanted to touch on that you think potentially we missed?
Not of mine thinking. Is there anything you think we maybe missed? Maybe there's no more questions from the community.
Wallet tracking. A question that did come through from Attican is: are you guys going to have the ability to track wallets within the platform? So, example, if somebody's a very profitable trader, if they've been hitting great signals, is there the ability to maybe copy trade or track performance across the platform via a leaderboard, so you can maybe model or alter your strategy to match those that are doing well?
Actually, that's a pretty awesome idea. We haven't planned for that, but that's, now that I think about it, it's not very complicated to do. Our current infrastructure we could enable that feature very quickly. And that's a very good idea.
The only thing is, I don't know if we want to reveal, let the people do the research on the chain themselves. We don't want to be the ones revealing one person's alpha to another. I don't know if we want to be in that position. I mean, the chain is there, so you can actually do it yourself. But I don't know if we want to say, that this user is making a lot of money, and next month he doesn't, Yeah, so it's a bit tricky. But yeah, wallet copy trading, that's the easiest thing to do. Follow a wallet's transactions, because we are listing on the chain, right? We're our Giga monitor, that's its job. It's listening to transactions. And that could be the trigger. Every time that's the simplest strategy to implement, wallet copy wallet. Copy trading.
Awesome. No, Attican, great suggestion. I'm just reading through to see if there's any other questions, guys. Sorry for the delay coming off. If I missed from the audience, there was one earlier. This one's from Baby Girl 72. Her question is: do you guys have a hub or a dashboard that allows users to monitor and track their on-chain trading and activity or performance? Overall, how does Gigabots allow a user to enhance their trading experience and make changes to their strategy for better results? So that's from Baby Girl 72.
So I think the way you do that is you can, so that Giga Analyst is your tool. So right now you have Giga Analyst, let's say, and so right now you have a strategy that's set, right? This is my strategy. I'm going into a minimum liquidity of 6 ETH. When the swap counts hit 50, I'm entering, and the buy-sell ratio has to be 2, like 2 buys for every 1 sell, and I'm exiting after 2 hours. That's a very simple strategy. So what you do is you basically every week you're doing the back test, and then every week you monitor your results and see if it's matching the back test. And if it is, then you know the market is the same. But if it isn't, then what's happening is the market has changed on you. And then you can run this for different strategies, right? You can try changing. Maybe I need to go into smaller pools. Maybe I need to, not just go into 50 swap counts. Maybe I need to go to 100 swap counts. And you can basically retune this. And this one's actually doing pretty good the last, let's say, month, right? Like it's doing pretty decent, but there was a point in time the same strategy was not doing well. And you can try changing the numbers. And if you've had a downturn like this, you could change your numbers and see, hey, like in this, let's say you were here. Now you're here somewhere, and in October, November, and you're like, you know what, this strategy is not doing so well. Let me run some different strategies. You change these settings, you run them. And, oh, this strategy is actually doing better because the market has changed on me. This is the basic tool, and there's a lot more we can build around this. But again, it's like, where will the demand come from? Because like Dev has said, we're 2 of us. And we've had limited resources. Now, hopefully, it'll be a bit better with the token. But again, it's still an allocation of resources. We can't do everything. And we definitely, this is a hypothesis that people want to trade like this systematically. That's a hypothesis. If it's true, we can double down on that. If it's more like they don't want this, they want everything curated for them, like Giga Signals, we can go in that direction. But yeah, the tool is there right now, and if we find power users coming in using this thing, then yeah, we can provide a better analytics functionality.
Love that. And yeah, no, great question, Baby Girl. I think this is the first time I've seen you out in an AMA here on our channel, so I appreciate you tuning in, and obviously, I appreciate you hitting us up with a question here. Now, we'll maybe do one more question if that's okay, guys, and we'll get to some closing statements. Again, I really appreciate the extra time. I know we didn't budget it this long, but, I didn't even realize we were 90 minutes in when we were. The discussion was just really flowing, so I appreciate you guys hanging around a little bit longer. Now, this question is from one of our regulars, Nita. Her question is specific to the Giga Analyst side of the project. So Giga Analyst essentially is aiming to bring rational reasoning or make on-trading decision-making easier. Can you guys elaborate on the specific models or learning methods that you guys are incorporating into the AI to essentially to make these strategies or make these trading decisions? What are the learning modules that are being implemented and uploaded into the AI that's running the back end? That's kind of how the question would be phrased.
So, yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go right after you.
Okay, so basically, I think the ML/AI fits in 2 areas, right? One is signal detection. So we're finding data points and correlating those to price. That's like your input variable is some data, such as swap count, and your output is price. And then you're seeing how predictive is it? Like when there's a 50 swap count in 5 minutes, and there's a 2-to-1 ratio, is that predictive of price? And you get a regression, or you get a we basically use different algorithms, because those are pretty much delivered. They're packaged in like NumPy and scikit in Python. So whatever we use in the end is we're trying to predict price. That's one aspect of where we use ML. And the other one is this hasn't been rolled out to you guys. We had this internally. There's a lot of possible configurations of a strategy, right? Like if you just have 7 things like minimum liquidity, swap count, and all these possibilities, there's like a whole space of kind of possibilities, right? Your space of options. Which strategy is the best strategy? You can actually use machine learning to identify which is the optimal strategy. What you need is your objective, like what's your objective to reduce drawdown or to maximize profit or maximize Sharpe ratio or whatever it is. And then we can use ML to actually do that. Now, we were doing that ourselves. That's a little more, I guess, more powerful feature. We have not released that into the Gigabot, but that's something you can do. Like, say you don't want to sit there and do like, even just a few signals I showed you, all the parameters are like hundreds. There's hundreds of different strategies possible. Which strategy is the best over time? Because remember, now it's also over time. Like some strategy might be good in sometimes, some might be good other times. So we have some, we developed internally some kind of algorithms for that, as well as some heat maps to give you a visualization of, this strategy is riskier but better returns, and this strategy is like lower risk but also lower returns. So yeah, AI fits in either signal detection or strategy selection, to put it like succinctly.
Yes. Another thing to add to that is the way that we've implemented the algorithms. You guys can kind of think of it as sort of like let's say you're going to build a pizza, right? And like our ultimate strategy is this pizza. The way that we actually tackle that is we first do some optimizations of finding the features. So the features will be like the ingredients, right? So for example, we optimize what is the best pepperoni, what is the best cheese, what is the best sauce, what is the best dough, right? And then so that would be, for example, the signals, right? Each one of these signals is a different ingredient to this master pizza that we're going to build. There's a couple of optimization algorithms that we use there, and at the same time, like maybe we'll say, look, this is the best pepperoni. Does this pepperoni go with the sauce and whatever? So that's layer 1. Layer 1 is the ingredients. We optimize the ingredients of the pizza. Layer 2 is then we optimize the combination of the ingredients. All right. So how much cheese, how much sauce, how much how much dough should we use for a specific pizza? And and what happens if we sprinkle how much, I don't know, green peppers and stuff like that, right? That's another algorithm. That one is one of the best ones that we have. That one uses it uses a bunch of stuff, but that's one of the best. And then the other thing is, now let's say that's how you build the pizza. Then we have another layer which optimizes through time. And here we use something that's known as a walk forward optimization, where let's say that, okay, we build this bed. How do we know it's the best pizza? Well, it depends on people buying it. So people's taste is going to change through time. So yeah, we can have the best pepperoni, we can have the best bell peppers, we can have the best cheese. Awesome. We built the best pizza, but that's for the summertime, So what happens is, as time goes by, we optimize our parameters again and again and again. Now, if you guys think about that, there's like good King was saying, there's an infinity of different combinations through time. So what we're gonna do as people get more accustomed to with the Giga analysis, we're gonna give them a little bit more freedom about how they can tweak the algorithms, so that they can have access to making their own, exploring different combinations themselves. But the approach that we take is a layered approach, right? So ingredients, then the combination of the ingredients, and then the scoring of that pizza through time through some walk forward optimizations. And yeah, and to add to that, I think the coolest and the most complex of the backends for for all of our 3 bots is actually the Giga Atoms. That's the most complex server that we have, because it takes a lot of resources and it does some very cool stuff behind the scenes to deliver these charts and these analytics.
Yeah, that backtest is actually like stepping through the blocks in history, right? So you're actually taking the actual data as if your transaction didn't happen, right? So we don't have that yet, where your transaction actually affects what have happened. So let's say all the transactions that happened in the past, and then you just insert your transaction, how it would have done. Yeah, so that's, I don't know if that answers the question, but we can go on about this stuff. And GigaDev can go on about his pizza analogies. Trust me.
Yeah.
I think maybe one or two members of the audience were hoping to throw questions, so maybe I'll just pull a hand or two up, see if if they have anything. We'll get Black Adam up there. It's been a while since we've heard from him. And we'll try one, and again, if it's a good question, we'll kind of wrap it up from there. But it has been a while since I've heard from Adam. And
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I have a question regarding your Gigabot. I was wondering that do you guys utilize machine learning to learn from experienced traders and incorporate unique trade strategies? Does the platform regularly update and enhance its trading data to continually improve the bot's decision-making capabilities for users from the experienced traders' strategies to incorporate it also with your existing strategies?
Yeah, I don't think we're not doing that right now. And like I said, that goes into a fine line of releasing, let's say you have a strategy. Do you really want us to learn your strategy and then teach it to everybody else, which basically means it's no longer a strategy or it's no longer an alpha, right? But as soon as your strategy goes into our model, it would not. So right now, our bot is not telling you the optimal strategy. You're discovering it yourself. So yeah, I don't think we don't have any plans to basically take users' strategies and share them with other users. Now that stuff is available on chain, but if you want to hide your tracks, that's also available. But yeah, we don't proactively plan to learn from our users and then share that with others. Am I right, GigaDev? What are your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, that's right. Now, if your question was more along the lines of do our algorithms learn from past experiences, then the answer to that question is yes, and we do that through the walk forward optimization. So, and the really cool thing, and I'm just gonna answer this because I think it's a really cool part of how we do things. But as you're moving through time, things change, and you guys will notice this in real life. You'll start seeing it. Is that maybe you get burnt, right? Maybe you touch something and it burnt you, right? So you learn, oh look, I'm not gonna touch it, right? But then next week you go to it, should you touch it again or not, right? So there's some really cool algorithms behind whether you should forget, how often you should forget old stuff, how often you should learn new stuff. And we're implementing all of this into our Giga Analyst, and it is learning from past experiences of the back tests and simulations that users will put it through. That's if that was the question, then that's it.
Yeah, I think another way to say it, the signals, yes, we are learning from the past, the signals. But the strategies are something that belongs to the user, how you put those signals together. And that's something I guess we're not, right? We're not trying to, share with others.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And one more thing, is there a recommended user preference when a user first sign up for the bot, allowing individuals to choose between long-term trading strategies with sustainable gains and short-term trading strategies with quicker returns? Do they have these kind of options as well?
We don't have it out of the box, but if you look at our numbers, if you look at even, I don't know if you guys are still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you look at something that this that does 342 trades, a 3.2 ETH drawdown, and a 55x return, and then you look at something, that's like this, has a much bigger drawdown, and has a lower P&L. Actually, there's sometimes you'll just see this one. This one is doing a drawdown of 2.2 ETH. So you can kind of identify what you just said, like higher risk, high return, and lower risk, low return strategies out of these. But we do want to, one of the things, like I said, we may want to roll out is just prepackaged develop three strategies. One is high risk, high return. One is low, and one is kind of in the middle. And when we say high risk, what we mean really is the drawdown you should expect. You should expect a bigger drawdown. You can go negative. This thing has a big drawdown, right? So that's kind of when we say risk in this world, it's kind of how big your drawdown is because things are going to zero. If you look at how this thing works, it's like little losses. These are all little losses. You put money in this shit coin, that shit coin, loss, and one of them went up. And these are the guys you're in the game for, these big ones. In fact, if you look at this chart, there's like 1, 2, 3 big winners that essentially carry this chart. And without this big winner, well, at least 2 of these, you wouldn't have done too well. So you can kind of go and, and what does it mean? It means you're going into lower liquidity. Like, let's say you go into lower liquidity, that's more risky, but also means there's more potential upside. So we have it at that level, but we are thinking of developing something like, green, yellow, red, or high, medium, low. So people don't have to kind of do the analysis themselves. They just pick one and they run with it. And those will be curated by us. So we will be tuning those strategies. Like, those will be our strategies the team builds. And every week we tune them and then we release them. So you guys can kind of automate this, on your own.
Yeah, you've been pushing for that internally. We've had this discussion before. Right?
Yeah,
you got to prepackage these things.
Yeah, because I just don't know how many people are actually going to. Yeah, we have to see, right? We have to see what the users are. The power users or the users who kind of want it done for them. That's really the question.
Yeah, but when and if we I think it's more of a when now. But when we implement it, what it's going to look like, it'll be like you guys have seen like those Chat GPT pre-trained models. That's what it'll feel like. You'll start off with sort of like a base model that's low risk, medium risk, high risk, and then maybe from that starting point, you can give it some additional tweaks if you want to, or you can go ahead and use it as you prefer.
Okay, I really appreciate the detailed response, and thank you for answering my questions as well. Thank you, Maurice.
No problem.
Yeah, great to have you back, Adam. Always love to have you in for questions, and you do have some good insight in the space. And then we just had one more. That was a pretty good back and forth. I know Brain Twister was hoping to get a few in. Him and Adam were the first 2 hands I saw up in the AMA, so I will give them the opportunity because they listened for the full 2 hours. I mean, respect to you guys. So, yeah. Twister, if you want to go ahead, I don't know if your mic's still unmuted. I did get you unmuted with Adam earlier just to speed up the process. You could shoot your questions to the team, and then we'll close out with their official final words. But, yeah, half an hour discussion for the questions. Really good back and forth, guys. So it's tough for me to cut these short because it's a lot of good value that comes in.
I'll just dive straight into my questions. Is that cool, guys?
Yeah.
Sweet. So first of all, the first part of your project, which is, the part that's telling people potential projects. I love that. And I've actually worked with a team in the past that did something quite similar. And one of the shortcomings I saw was, when everyone finds those, what do they call it, settings that works, that usually end up giving you profits and everyone jumps onto that setting. At the end of the day, that can potentially ruin things for the project, maybe because everyone knows, okay, fine, this will give me profit. They come in, they get their profit, they move out, and then things don't go exactly as planned. And maybe that setting doesn't finally, end up working as well as it should be. So how do you think you would be able to continually tweak things to keep those settings, how do I put it, giving the returns that they would give, first of all? And then secondly, I'm sorry because I just want to ramble on so you guys don't lose me. Secondly, you mentioned something about the sniping and, how, you pretty much explained all of that. The one thing I realized, though, is it doesn't really eliminate who would be getting into the first block because, the way you explained it, you would make it fair for everyone, but then this is blockchain. Whoever gets to pay more gets in. So it could potentially mean that everyone that uses your platform or your style of trading to get into said project would still get in behind those snipers, so to speak. And do you think that is this new method that you're going to try to implement is going to be able to outpace that, or maybe a way to differentiate it, not differentiate rather, but mitigate any losses that may follow that particular approach? Let me give you those 2 first.
Yeah, can you iterate the first one more? Because I what was the question itself in the first one?
Yeah, the first one, the question was more about, if everyone jumps onto a particular setting because of the high returns ratio that setting could give you. This is crypto. The more people that come in, the chaotic it gets, and the less likely it is that whatever you have planned will tend to work at the end. So if a setting gets to give people consistent profits, and a lot of people jump into that, whatever project that setting calls after, or rather alerts someone after, has higher likelihood of, not going according to plan or possibly even failing, because everyone would want, also buy in and then take their profits and stuff like that would happen. So do you think there's a way your team is going to work around that to ensure that whatever setting that is put on is something that constantly can, give that returns ratio that everyone would be looking for?
Yeah, so that one is pretty easy. So that one is pretty easy. So what's going to happen in practice is, like, the market is inefficient in multiple ways, right? So let's say a bunch of people are jumping, like, for some reason they all individually land on the same settings, right? What's going to happen is, you can think of alpha as being like being able to, like, sort of like a price, like, it's sort of like, think of, like, let's say price right now it's at $1 of a specific token, and our alpha is saying that it should be 2, right? What's going to happen if 10 people use the same settings, that thing is going to start converging. Price is going to start through time. So what I mean is, like, on the first token that you apply it, you'll buy at $1, sell at 2. But as time goes by through different tokens, for example, that's going to start converging. The price that you're getting at the token is going to be closer to like 1.5. And then the price that you'll be able to exit, like, it'll be like 1.6 until it converges into this sort of like fair value based on the alpha that everybody's jumping on, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because the alpha is like sort of done, that there's not going to be more alpha, because this is also like the inefficiencies in the market are sort of like whack-a-mole, right? So as soon as you converge into one alpha, another alpha is going to pop up somewhere else. So there's going to be a new set of settings. So there's some very cool like graphics that show like how these things behave through time. But short answer is it's just an evolving thing, and we believe our algorithms are going to be able to handle this in practice, because we've seen them do it for us individually. Now we have to see it in practice, but they'll adapt. For sure they'll adapt. Price is going to converge at first with the specific settings, and then another inefficiency is going to pop up somewhere else, and we're going to find it, and then we'll go converge that. So then people say, oh, the market's efficient. Then the reason why it's efficient is because we're going to make it efficient, by bringing down those inefficiencies. Then the second question, I don't know if you take it, Giga King.
But also one more thing. There's so many possible settings that not everybody is going to land on the same one. Like, multiples will be making money. It's not like there's 1 out of 10 that make money, right? There's like 1,000, and they all make different amounts of money. That's the thing. So it's not a black and white. So I don't think there's not going to be, maybe by process of like trial and error, people are kind of coming to like some out of those 1,000, these 100 strategies are better. But I don't think there's going to be like 1 or 2 or 3 strategies that everybody discovers. And they're going to be changing over time, like you could have said. So I think it's more like it's a game, right? Like, that's the unfortunate thing about financial markets. You got to keep finding new alpha.
All right. Yes. Yeah. It's, so long as it's going to be customizable for everyone, I guess it's, literally going to be hard for a particular preference or, setting to, work as I intended, or rather as I said. So what about my second question about the sniping and, how potentially you ensure that the fairness that you aim for would be possible with your project?
So let's talk about the unfairness of sniping, right? So what happens is, when you do these snipes, firstly, there's a few levels. The average sniper is losing because every sniper is getting different price. And then you have like that first sniper who kind of, just by having a little bit more than the other snipers, essentially uses their whole bribe and gets in first. But then you have the big winners, which are the block builders. So this money that's supposed to go to the liquidity pool, like, I'm an investor, I'm sending money to a project's liquidity pool, and the project, one needs that liquidity pool to support its currency. It's going out of this whole loop, out of this economy of this project, and it's going to the block builder. So what we're saying is, there'll be no bribes. And because this needs to be discussed how it's going to happen, but the idea is for there not to be this leakage going out to the block builders. And all the funds should at least get back into the liquidity pool. That's number one. Number two, some set of users that are in the beginning, instead of having this race where one of them kind of with a little bit more gets to topple the others, there's something where all of those get the same price. So some kind of fair pricing for all of those who believed in the project early. Because they did. They actually believed in the project early. So there should be a reward for believing in it early. The question is, they should all get a similar price. So, and then if you add that with other things such as some type of a community takeover and stuff like that, I think the whole kind of process becomes more fair to the investor as well as to the project. And the project ends up with successful project, they end up with the liquidity going back to their pool and not into the hand of the Ethereum block builders.
Yeah, but I don't think you exactly understand what I was meaning. Like, I was talking about the people that would be sniping normally, and then you mentioned something while you were explaining about trying to make sure everyone that wants to buy in at a particular instance gets in at the same price. On the blockchain, that's like literally impossible, wouldn't you say? Because, I mean, you can't expect 50 people, 100 people to come in and buy a project at the same price. Unless, of course, you were doing some sort of a private sale or OTC sale or something like that. So I'm curious how you, intend to make that a reality.
So the way, so all 50 wallets cannot send a transaction at the same time. But you can have a contract where you aggregate all their funds and sign one single transaction that purchases a token. So the way to think about what we're trying to build with Giga Launch is sort of like Launchpad meets like stealth launch and Uniswap. Like they kind of meet in the middle, and we create this awesome child if they both got together. So that's the idea. The thing, what happens with most of these snipes is it'll become kind of becomes a game of musical chairs, because different stakeholders that bought in, like snipers, they're really just trying to get out as soon as somebody else that got a worse price than them, and there's no liquidity for them to exit. The issue that we saw through our research is that a lot of the money is being siphoned out of the mechanism that's generating it, which is the developers and the users, and it's going directly to the miners. Where we know if we can abstract that away from users and make it so that everybody can quote unquote do sort of like a snipe, but it'll be like a fair snipe sort of thing, then we can add that towards liquidity for the protocol, and that makes it better for everybody. That's what we're gonna try to do. So, but conceptually, think about it as sort of like Launchpad meets Unity 2 stealth launch.
Okay, all right then. I guess you have it figured out to an extent. It's about watching you make that a reality. And with your what do they call it? With your Signals bots, or how do I put it? Yes, I think Signals bot is the best word to use. It's really gonna be interesting to see what it turns out on a daily and how effective it'll be. Let me not take too much time. Thank you very much, Maurice. Buck, it's been a pleasure to, come on the VC once again. And as always, it's great to hear your voice. Thank you, Giga team, and I will be keeping track on your project.
You too, man. You too. Have a nice day.
Thanks for the back and forth. Again, I don't want to get another one, but I had somebody DM me saying that they've been listening to the whole time. They haven't tuned in for an AMA here, and they were hoping they could ask a question. So, I do love to hear from new people in the space. So we're going to maybe just pull up Crypto Bird with the NFT ticker beside their name for one final question. Seems like they may be coming from the Gigabots community. So, happy to get them up here for a quick one, and then we can wrap it up.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, Bird, what's going on? Sorry,
there we go.
Weird.
Sorry, I had to close out all my other apps.
That is completely okay. I know TG's been really kind of glitchy for the last 2-3 days almost. So,
too, man.
Sticking through.
I was sitting here talking to myself for a minute. No, I want to get a little bit more serious. First of all, I want to say shout out to Caesar. I love you, bro. You've done great things for the community, and the people that are here, they're here for a reason. Second of all, I do appreciate everything that you said, GigaDev, and I definitely love your project. You've done great things, and I understand fully what you're trying to do, the differences in the market, and why people should invest in your project compared to others. But I wanted to ask more of a personal question, and I feel like this is something that I've learned from Caesar is, we can find good projects, we can find good ideas, we can find new trends and everything else, but why should we invest in you? there's two of you guys, so I understand that. I don't know if you guys want to answer this as a double question, but my question personally is, I fully understand the project. I fully understand where you're going with this and why it's beneficial to the community. I appreciate it, and it's definitely a project to keep an eye on if you haven't got in already. I do want to say I got in super freaking early. I'm not selling. I believe in Caesar, and I believe in the community and everything that I've seen so far. But I want to ask, why should we invest in you? Not the project, not the things you believe in, everything else. You personally as the dev and your partner as well.
Cool. So I guess I'll go first. But you guys should technically invest in us. Because we're actually, like, we were discussing this yesterday, Giga and I, we're like, we form a very good team that complements each other. Like, all my shortcomings, he's really good at, and I also, like, am the same, and the other way around. But just for speaking for me, look, I'm a crypto native. I've been doing, like, I love crypto. I love the ethos of it and, like, where it stands. Like, I'm, like, whatever happens within the next 20 years, I'm still going to be in crypto, right? So I just really believe in that this technology is what's moving us forward. Then on top of that, you have the fact that I love programming and building products, and it just makes sense that I'm going to become one of the best builders in the ecosystem. It's just a matter of time, because I really love doing this. You know, I love going to smart contract code. I love learning about how we can optimize machine learning algorithms, our system. I love quantitative finance. Like, everything about this, like, I literally breathe it every day. So that's number one. And number two is I'm relentless. I'm disciplined and relentless. Like, once I set my mind to do something, dude, there's nothing that's gonna stop me from accomplishing it. It's always, for me, it's just a matter of time. That's what I always say. So yeah, I think that's it. Also, I like keeping things cool, fresh, and making sure that we have fun while we build great things.
You mind if I ask another question?
Sure, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to ask one more question. What? Yeah, I know we didn't get to the second person and everything. Once again, shout out everybody. But what made you feel as if you can benefit the community? So, like, what? Maybe I can word that a little bit differently. What made you feel as if people can benefit from what you bring and who you are as a person? So I know that, like I said, I understand the project. I understand what it does, the utility. Now I understand what you do and everything. I guess I'm asking, what are your beliefs and what is the long-term goal of your project to where it benefits not only you, but the community members and the people who have been here since day one?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in one of those podcasts where, like, asking spiritual questions. But
my bad, I didn't mean to put you on blast, dude. I just feel like it's a personal question, and like I said, following Caesar, I've learned that maybe the project is the best, and maybe the idea is the best thing possible as well. But who are we investing in? Why should we invest in them, in the things that they are doing? So I guess I'm trying to get personal and into the deep ends of why you know, like you answered it one time, but maybe, like, what is your ideas of how maybe you can change what you wanted to change, or what is it that you exactly want to change? I don't know. I'm trying to word this in multiple ways to give you multiple.
Yeah, I like the question, because, like, you know, one thing I've always said here on the channel is anything that's, like, not just, you know, like a fly-by-night narrative meme or something like that, where it can shift day to day and, you know, you could kind of get stuck out. When it's something that's actually requires building and longevity, like, the team behind it does have to have a certain level of passion and excitement for, like, what they're trying to build up.
Exactly,
and, you know, as you guys kind of alluded to, you're not the biggest fans of what sniping has done to the perception of DeFi, and trying to disrupt and put equality back on kind of the playing field. I know that's kind of like the vision. So yeah, no, I think that's a good question, playing into, like, what your goal is with the sniping disruption and kind of what you've seen. That's kind of how I would
like, what is it that makes you different from the rest of the crowds that are trying to change the same exact problem?
Okay, cool. Okay, so I am gonna go then a little bit personal here, but so the thing is, like, I've always wanted things to be fair. Like ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted things to be fair. Like at a point, I wanted to be president because I didn't like the politics. I was maybe like 6 years old, right? So I always wanted things to be fair. Aside from that, I've never liked I never liked sort of boundaries. Like the fact that countries are divided by boundaries, I also don't like that. I want things to be like the world should be seen as like a big, as a sort of like whole community, you know? And I think, so those two things lined up with why I believed in crypto, right? And then that and then what I'm seeing right now is that this crypto is mutating into this thing that it's forgetting about the users and like it's really forgetting about the users. And we're diverging away from what we should be doing. And honestly, I don't like it at all. You know, I really and I've seen like some very good teams, very intelligent guys, focus too much on building tech that's predatory and it's just not, and it's not good for the world as a whole. And I kind of want to converge us back into what I believe we should be, which should be a fair world, and it should be user first. I really want that the world to be. I also want to be, and yeah, I want to make the world fair and kind of make it like remove the boundaries that exist and just make it into like one big community. And I feel that the current protocols and things that are lying around are not doing that. They're kind of mutating, and I want to bring it back to the way that it should be: user first, fair, and everybody can be a part of it.
So what I'm getting out of it is maybe cut me off as soon as I'm wrong, but you get a lot of atheists per se in this crypto community, and they don't believe in Gary Gensler. They don't believe in the laws in crypto in the way that protect the community, quote unquote. So what you're saying, from what I got out of it, is you're more or less a person. You're not just an investor. You're not just everything else. You're the person that's like, hey, man, I don't believe in that bullshit that you guys are regulating, doing, and investing in whatever else it may be. And we are trying to help everybody be as stable and productive as possible. And I could be wrong, like I said, but the way you're saying it is you don't get along with authority. And the authority,
yeah, you're right.
The authority that is over regulating the community that we are a part of, which could be Gary Gensler and everything else. I don't want to, for sure, this is that. But, you know, what you're saying is there's a lot of bullshit in this crypto market, and you're trying to do something that gives everybody the same specifics that you would believe in yourself.
Actually, you caught that pretty well. I never mentioned authority, but you're 100% right. I think whatever Satoshi is, he's probably like, I can't believe that it's the ETF that's supposed to be save the crypto markets. Like, where are we? That BlackRock is supposed to be what's going to solve, like, it's going to help Bitcoin in the crypto world. Like, we're deviating away from what it should be. Now,
right. Like, this whole space came because of the people, I don't want to say this started because of money launderers, but this all started because of freedom. This started because of people who wanted a differential from what other people and institutions and financial institutions were doing. And you're extending that fact of into the meme market, into the dev market, and the bots and everything else. So that's just what I'm getting from it. I'm trying to piece and gather all the information I can from what you're saying and from the questions that I'm asking. So if I'm wrong, please state that. But, you know, this is something that I'm getting, and that's also a very good narrative. That's something that everybody in crypto and everybody who is invested in shit coins and meme coins and dexes and everything else, that's something that everybody can get a hold of. So if that's what you're saying, you know, I that's what I'm gathering. That's what I appreciate. And if I'm wrong, please call me out and shame me.
No, you're right. You're on point, man. You're right. You hit the mark.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you. And once again, I want to say so much thank you to Maurice, Caesar's Call, one of the best channels in Telegram. I so much. I don't have a following. I only hop in when I like something that catches my interest. I'm a background trader. I've been doing this for years and years and years. And I've done no social media presence, no Telegram, no Discord, no nothing. So I definitely appreciate Caesar letting me come up here and ask these questions. And I appreciate you, dude. GigaDev, you're a beast, and you've done very well with your answers and everything else.
Yeah, thanks. But like once again, I really want to iterate, guys. Like this is just me. Like I think we should like Giga King. Can you like maybe give your side of the story and tell people also that
your answers are really a hard act to follow. You want to be president at 6. But listen, one of the things I'll say, it's like anything I say to you is kind of talk, right? You really have to get to know us. I think you'll see us day in, day out, answer questions, and it's actions that'll speak. Unfortunately, in this world we live in, I did not used to be anonymous, right? That's not even my style. It's just that with the government and the SEC and all this BS, it's just a precautionary step. And probably I'm going to dox myself one of these days. I actually don't, I have a name, And the thing is, you're only going to know me over time. And those people who know me, I put everything I have on the table. And I think GigaDiv can assess this. Because when we started this thing, I had a little bit. And I said, you know what, man, let's just put it in. Let's do this thing. And it's 50-50 all the way, And if we succeed, we succeed. But you got to put your, money where your mouth is.
You got to.
Other than that, really, I love about the space. I'm an entrepreneur, from after 1 year graduation, and nowhere have I seen the power of you can create a product, you can create a community, and a user base all joined together, coherently. This doesn't exist anywhere else. And I think there's a great power, but we get a bad name because of all the scams. And so there's challenges, and we want some good people. I think we need some good, responsible role models so people can say, yeah, man, this is the way it's done. So I'm not, money is great. You can make more money. I think if me and Dev took our skill set, we could find some, easier way to make money. I'm sure we could. But it's not why I'm here. I have kids, by the way, maybe older than some of you guys. And I want to show them.
Speaking of which, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry. I do not mean to do this, but I got to take care of my 2 kids. But you definitely hit the head on the nail of exactly what GigaDev said as well. You guys have definitely showed your appreciation towards what this crypto community is and what it means and what we are trying to do as a degen and not to mention a low cap specialist. This is a low cap, dude. So this isn't something that we can just invest in on MEXC or Coinbase or something like that. This is something that you're like, hey, man, we appreciate the people at the bottom.
Grassroots, man, grassroots. This is where it all starts.
What you guys are doing for us and investing in us, and I want you guys to understand that we have something bigger coming, and I appreciate that. And the reason that I asked before I hop off, like I said, I got 2 kids to take care of. The reason I appreciate the way you guys answered the question that I asked is because we're people, bro. We're all people, dude. So every one of us got lives. Every one of us are investing for a certain reason. We all have a goal for something special we're trying to get or something trying to grab or whatever it may be, or invest in for the future for our families, or maybe trying to start an insurance policy for our kids. And this all starts at these memes and everything that's new coming into this space. And we're all coming into these micro caps and all these things that are causing so much hackus and so much uproar that, we appreciate you coming in and being honest with us and being hey, man, this is why I want to be a part of this space. And this is why I created a token that you guys are a part of. You guys are here to listen to me and we're giving you the truth of everything. So we appreciate your insubordination against authority, which I'm sure half of us degens could say fuck cops or whatever it may be. Don't mark that or don't quote that. But we're all happy, and I'm very thankful for the way you answered that. Once again, before I leave, I do want to say thank you so much, Caesar, Maurice, for letting me speak. I did have a good question. You didn't have to believe in that, but I don't have a background. I don't have a Twitter. I don't have none of that. I've been trading 5 years in the background without any recognition. I make my money. I do my thing. I take care of my kids. So I appreciate the answer, and I appreciate the
I always say a lot of the times, some of the best community members we have here are not even vocal. They just kind of watch in the background. They don't jump into every AMA. They kind of pick and choose very selectively what appeals and fits their criteria. And when they like it, they jump in. They support. And yeah, I love that you're focused on the team and the back end. Great questions, really good discussion. What GigaDev
and you couldn't have hit that on the nose even more, bro. I'm exactly that guy. So
Yeah, and what
It
Giga
speaks
King
on
said as
volumes
well
of
was
I'm
really,
here and I appreciate this project and I'm invested, and it should speak volumes that I don't. And I've been in your private group for probably 6 to 12 months, and I've never once spoke. That popped up, but something caught my interest. You know, you like this, I hopped in, I like this, and this is definitely something, like I said, I appreciate it. I don't want to overdo my welcome, but I 100% appreciate you guys' conversation and your answers and everything else. So have a blessed day, guys. Much love. Nothing but great gains, and I hope the best to your project, man.
You too, man. Keep that hustle. Stay blessed.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And yeah, Giga King had a great answer as well as Giga Dev with regards to like why.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, no, really good. And I agree with what they both said. And it's kind of like things that, you know, you guys have heard me preach and talk about here over the last couple of years. So, you know, really, again, to everybody who tuned in, I know we didn't plan on running this, 2.5 hours, but I don't cut the discussion when the discussion is good and there's value being added. And I was really, again, those first 90 minutes just flew right by. So again, both Giga King and Giga Dev, thank you guys for taking the time, spending the extra hour with our community, doing those questions. That back and forth is really, really awesome.
Yeah, I personally just want to say from both communities, both Giga and both Caesars. I know Caesars a big community for everybody here, and Giga. Appreciate you guys so much, and thank you for listening to me personally.
Yeah, no, you were great, man. You did a great job, and it was a really good discussion. So I will give the team here from Giga, the final word to close out on behalf of the project and the community there. But the chart's held up really nicely since launch. People, I like the why to your answers, not necessarily what you're doing, but the why you're doing it. And as I said, we have some additional stuff that we try and do with projects, on some spaces and whatnot. So we will connect in DMs. This week, our utility showcase was pushed. We're just giving a week off, and then we'll be hitting it back next Thursday. So, similar time to when the AMA was today. I think, again, if you guys are interested, it would be next week. We could chat in DMs, happy to have you guys jump on stage and just, give some exposure to your project in front of a few different keynotes. So we'll talk more about that, but you can close out on behalf of the team there at Gigabots.
All right. Well, I just want to say, guys, thank you for having us on. Thank you for the trust. Those of you who've placed some trust on us, thank you. Let us earn it. I think that's the way to do it. Watch us every day. When we screw up, tell us. And it's the actions. I can sit here and say anything I want, but it's the day-to-day that we want to earn your trust, and we want to build the best product possible for users. So give us your feedback, and that's it.
Awesome. Wasn't sure if GigaDev wanted to pop in and say a closing statement as well, but no, definitely we'll be watching what you guys are doing here at Caesars. And again, anybody who hasn't yet jumped into the community, you guys can join in through the posts up on the main channel and stay active in what these guys are doing over there at Giga. So thank you both. We'll be in touch in DMs. I can drop you the recording so you guys can get that pinned and posted in your community. Really good discussion for anybody who didn't tune in. And as I said, the YouTube will be uploaded. Our video editor does a great job detailing the chapter reviews and breakdowns, and kind of we'll be able to hit on some of the community questions as well through that. So great AMA. Appreciate the time, guys. Have a great rest of your evening wherever you are. It's kind of getting to that time where it's almost dinner time here for me now too. So I'm going to be jumping offline for a few hours. If you need me, I'll be back online around midnight UTC, 7 p.m. Eastern. So expect a response then. But, really enjoyable. Awesome job. This has been the end of the AMA with the team from Gigabots. Ticker is Giga.